Ladies and gentlemen, theys and thems, weavers and listeners all, welcome to another episode of Occupied with Stardust and Dragons, where we discuss the lore, character developments, the story thus far, and occasionally have the cast on to talk about themselves and their character. Today we have an awesome guest, one of the writers of Stargazer's Guide to Aurora, cast member of Ink and Liar's Fate's End and Iron Valor. You can find him on Twitter X at BrotherB and Instagram at BrotherB, the man behind the curtain, the weaver of stories that is Stardust and Dragons. We welcome the DM, Brandon Hatcher.
Oh my God. I feel like I could applaud. Like you made me sound so good, dude.
You are so good, though. That's the thing.
You really
and,
are.
Yeah, and shameless plug right now, because we were just talking in our bonus content for our Patreon. So if you're not on Patreon, go ahead and get on Patreon for This Dungeon is Occupied. But also, Stardust and Dragons has a Patreon.
Right.
Patreon at Speakeasy Productions. Last episode, I made the mistake of saying at Stardust and Dragons, but it's actually Speakeasy Productions.
Yes.
And it's $5. You get extra bonus content. Go and do it. I'm on it. It is what it is, man. So you set the tone for this entire campaign in episode 1, and this is the little episode 1 that we'll talk about because we had episode 1 already. But you start off with a dream sequence with Lyrax and kill multiple NPCs and just have this war-torn area, the destruction of a forest. It's, the whole event is called the Day of Flame.
The Day of Flame.
And I'm assuming, because of that death scene and finding out that we have a little bit more deaths from Brendan and Lucky's family.
Right.
That's kind of the tone that you set for the whole campaign and the whole galaxy, is just that there's no promise of survival.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we had a long talk about how we were gonna run the game, before session 0 stuff. And when you're when you're setting it in a galaxy, right? When you're doing like a universe spanning thing, it's like you're gonna run into people who are more powerful than you. You're gonna run into people who are stronger, who are more ruthless. Yeah, that homeless guy might be chaotic evil. You don't know. So it's like I wanted to like. Do we cuss on this part? I don't know.
Yes.
I wanted
Yes.
I wanted my characters. I wanted my characters to play badasses, but I also wanted to know there are also other badasses out there. And it's important that they respect that and that they understand that. So I'm glad that you caught on to that. Like that was like very intentional to be like, hey, this guy, you run into this guy, you already know what it's about because you remember that when you've seen what he did. It's like just like a display of power kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that's
you really struck a balance with letting the players kind of be themselves and try to bring out their own badassness, while at the same time, in my world, what I call smacking them down and putting them in their place with people that are bigger, stronger, and more badass than you are. You gotta, especially early on, you have to have that balance, and I think you've done a wonderful job with it.
Oh well, thank you so much. Yeah, it is
Definitely.
a tightrope walk sometimes. It's hard to straight.
Yeah.
So
Robbie,
second episode.
Yeah, Robbie, did you have something to add?
Oh no, I was agreeing with Thorn.
Oh, okay.
And he's like, you're awesome, and I'm like, yes, you are.
So I like the way the second episode started out, because it brings you right back in, takes you straight to the bar. Life's going on, and it really, I thought it kind of struck a chord with me that you showed that, yeah, this is happening to you. You got Brendan and Lucky losing cousins left and right, but this life still goes on, whether you're sad or not. Life is there, and I really enjoyed that part of it. It really struck a chord with me, because it's what you seem to be doing is grabbing us listeners and just pulling us in deeper into these stories, and each one of them has such a good story to begin with, and you just barely touched on them. And I'm so looking forward to seeing where you take it next, because it's just been a blast to listen to.
Yeah, it's well, thank you for all the kind words, man. I'm over here gushing. But yeah, one of the things that I thought was interesting is it's gonna be kind of a slow burn, because these guys are strangers, right? Like I wanted to capture the part of the story where like the like you got one track going over here, one track going over there, and one track going over here, and then they all kind of come together, you know. So like the entire, you know, the whole first episode, I think the party doesn't get together until like the very end, you know, and even then they're all just kind of sitting at a bar together. They're not like a party yet, you know. So I thought it was important to kind of showcase, like, you know, what was Constance doing before she met the two short men? You know, what were the two short men doing? You know, kind of like they were off in their own solo adventures before they all kind of crashed in to create this adventure, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it. The dichotomy of what's going on, because Constant, you know, was in a lab and she decided that she's leaving. She's, you know, not necessarily stealing. We talk about it in episode 1, is that it's just her research. So technically, you know, it's not really stealing. It's mine. And then Flip and Brendan are almost dying, you know, in a
constantly
right.
almost dying. Just in a perpetual state of near death. Yeah.
Right. And it's just, you know, when we all get to the bar and we're drinking and things, and then Lucky gets this beeper and it's like, oh, hey, there's cops at your door. Just it's comical, man. I love it so much.
I love that Constant was like, do I have to go?
Right. I don't know these people yet.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And shouts out to Raina, man. She does such a great job. Like with that, like just play. Oh, and if you think that's just wait till because there's a whole lot. I mean, if you're familiar with like the hero's journey, you know, there's like the call to adventure, and then like the refusal of the call, and it's like Constant just constantly refuses, like, no, I am a passenger on this trip. Yeah, but you know, it's so it's cool to, like, no spoilers or anything, but you know, you do eventually see her kind of grow a little bit. I'll just leave it like that.
Right. And what's interesting is that, you know, you're talking about that refusal for the call of action, that she does it so well that it's not like, because that's always a problem for younger DMs and even some veteran DMs, that like, hey, I have a character that just hates everyone, they don't want to join the party, make me a game. It's really rough, but she does it so well that, like, and you're a great DM that you guys are able to bounce back and forth and just have, you know, there's that subtle push, like, okay, yeah, you don't want to go, but we're still gonna get you in there, you know, and she just goes along, and you know, then we have this crazy combat that wasn't supposed to happen. or was, but wasn't supposed to get that crazy. I don't.
Right. It was a little. Yeah, but I think that's what happens when, like, you don't tell the players what they're walking into before the game starts. Like, you know, they have what they want to do, and I have like what I want to do, you know, and so we just kind of let it go. So I think in the episode, even I think they called me out. They were like, "You're trying to kill us here, aren't you? Like, are we going to jail or what?" And, yeah, but then it's funny because, you know, they leaned all the way in on me, and they were like, "Oh, okay, we're all right. Kill people, we're going with that. We're gonna," and it's like, I kept waiting for one of them to snap and be like, all right, I'm just gonna blow this dude's brains out. But luckily,
well, I mean, we got close. I mean, Brendan brought out a freaking flamethrower.
Yeah.
So...
I like they were subtly trying to intimidate them, but they weren't saying, I want to intimidate them.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, flamethrower, but it's not doing nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, these are galactic patrol officers. You know, they seen all sorts of shit. Like, flamethrower's not gonna phase them.
I thought for sure Lyrex was gonna kill somebody.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
I take out my sword. All right, here it goes. You know, and I hit him with the flat of the sword. Okay, well, that's fine.
Yeah. And it makes it. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's okay. It was just, you know, they were trying to do the intimidation, and I loved what you did, because, you know, they get to where there's kind of like 1 or 2 guards left, and I forget which character it was, but it was like, call everyone off, and you described, you know, this guard coming up to the radio, and he's, send everyone, just do it, send everyone. Just like, I'm not afraid. What are you talking about? We're gonna get this.
Yeah, you know, I thought it would be interesting. It's like, you know, you want the characters to feel strong, you want the players to feel strong, but again, it was like, I guess, kind of like this is your place in the world, you know? Like
Mhm.
y'all y'all are badasses, but you're not that scary, you know? You're
Right.
scary, but yeah, you can so
Are we allowed to know what level the characters are right now?
yeah, yeah, it's actually weird. So everybody's a different level.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
The two
interesting.
Yeah, we're doing asynchronous
Oh.
leveling. Again, to add to the idea that like, you know, these guys are all coming together they're at different points in their lives, you know?
Mhm.
Right.
So like for instance, the two short men, you know, they've participated in the Stardust Wars and they've been bounty hunters, you know, they're old men in a young man's game. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So it's like they're obviously the highest level. They're both at level 6 right now.
Okay.
And then Lyrax obviously, trained in the art of the sword. You know, he was a understudy to Animos Honormain as his mentor and everything. You know, learned the nobility and stuff. I think he's level 4 when we start. Yeah.
Okay.
And then there's Constant, who has, you know, been a blue collar worker her whole
Yeah.
life, you know, working in the mines and then working in the research lab. She's only level 3. Like she literally just got her
Oh, wow.
subclass. Like, yeah. So I thought so, you know, it would be interesting going into it, like, and you kind of get to see that as the party starts to form up, like Constant becomes everyone's little sister, you know, like, you
Mhm.
know, Lyrax becomes the older brother, and the two short men are like the odd couple that like kind of push the party along and everything. So I think having everyone at different levels too, kind of it reinforced to the players like, oh yeah, protect her, and then even, you know, Constant and Lyrax are like, there are big guns, so let's, you know, kind of form up on them, you know.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
You know, having
Yeah.
seen everyone else playing in a different game, it's just very interesting to see how dynamically different they can be in a different story in a different setting. I think
Oh
that's the
yeah.
biggest thing to me. Watching you play now, being a DM, is just
Yeah.
so fun to me.
Yeah, I mean, all of us have DM'd and all of us have played, and it's neat to see, and I really do enjoy it. But I have we talked a little bit about this in the pre thing, but in the for the Patreon was, have they mentioned what Black Betty is?
Oh no.
Didn't
No,
think so.
Big Betty, right? You're
No.
on the ship, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. No, they haven't.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
didn't think so. We're like, what's Black Betty? Did they mention in the first episode? I don't think so. I don't know what it is,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah.
curious.
Now
Now.
the two short men have a lot of they've got a lot of stuff on their ship. Yeah.
Now, are we allowed to know a little bit? So Black Betty, is that from Scoo's Booze?
Scoo's Booze?
Yeah. So if for the listeners, if you haven't paid attention to Stardust and Dragons Facebook, they have extra lore that aren't in the first or second episode. And there's what is it? A Scooter Burner Head
Yeah.
of Scoo's Booze ammo. Can you talk a little bit about that lore? Like what's going on with that? If you're allowed
Yeah.
to.
So I can get I can get a little bit into it. So yeah, we just created these, like, you know, obviously this is like kind of a post-war kind of galaxy,
Mhm.
right? And so, you know, with that, like that's kind of where we wanted to like create these companies and like kind of go at it from like an advertisement way. So
Mhm.
Scoo's Booze is like, you know, they're one of the gun manufacturers, you know, one of the weapons manufacturers to go up against, like, there's a couple of them. This, you know, Happy Arms Collective, the Luminary Company, all sorts of things like that. And yeah, Scoo's Booze is just one of the ones, you know, he's a little eccentric, makes, you know, best weapons in the galaxy, that sort of thing.
Yeah. I can't wait until you guys actually release some of the lore, because obviously like we have a little bit of the behind the scenes look, especially with our cast Discord and stuff, and so, you know, no
Yeah.
spoilers or anything, but when that art is released for all these companies and stuff, that is some sick stuff.
Oh yeah. Shout out to Jacob Rest. He's fantastic. He did all that stuff. And Max does some of the art as well, and Reina. We've got a really talented team. It's crazy. Yeah, but you know, and then even all the writers and stuff, like obviously like everything's gonna come into play, but it's cool having a team to like kind of build out. I mean, it's a galaxy, you know?
Right.
So
Yeah.
we've got entire planets with with cities, with NPCs and everything. Like it's huge, like hundreds of pages of like documents to create like this like Bible of the Haley system and everything. Yeah, my boy Caleb has been instrumental in doing that stuff. JT, LeBourne, all of them. It's great.
Speaking of pages and pages of a mass galaxy, is there anything you can give us, like a sneak preview into lore that you're allowed to share with us that we can share with our listeners?
Yeah. I could like story wise, like coming up in the story, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So let's see. I think episode 2 ends with the fight. So in episode 3, they go the next place that they end up in is the cluster, and the cluster is super interesting because it's actually one of the first places that Aurora Industries took over and like pulled all the Stardust from, right? And so what you learn is that when a planet is completely devoid of Stardust, like once it's completely removed all of its Stardust, right, the planet starts to die and break apart, right? So with this being one of the oldest planets in the galaxy that Aurora's done mine, they've left, right? There's nothing left there for them. So the people who kind of wanted to stay out of the influence, and kind of like live life on their terms, they come and they kind of turn this dead husk of a planet into like this kind of a thriving metropolis. Like if you could imagine like kind of like a Pangea situation, but the entire Earth, no water or anything. There are these thick steel cables that there's this artificial gravity generator in the center of it all, kind of like acting like an artificial core that kind of keeps everything from floating away.
Nice.
And so like they've built these cities, on these little chunks of planet and everything, and they all have like, they're like city states. They all have like different cultures and different rulers and things like that. And they kind of rule like so there are these 4 merchant lords that kind of run the cluster together. There's like this uneasy kind of truce between the four of them. So that's where they're gonna go next. As far as they're in the middle of a festival called the Day of Mending, or the Day of Unity, the Day of Mending, I think. Like to celebrate like the merchant lords coming together and creating this thriving metropolis. So you're gonna get a really big departure from the armpit that is Dalmar, and then when you get to the cluster, it's gonna be like a whole new crazy kind of experience.
That's
cool. I'm super excited for that. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
For the listeners, this episode comes out a week after episode 2, so next week is episode 3 for Stardust and Dragons. So definitely go over there and listen for the cluster, because that's there's so much lore that's giving me, it gives me ideas, because obviously like Robbie and I are the writers. We've talked about it before, and we're currently getting ready to talk with all of the writers for Stardust and Dragons to kind of add our own little flavor and touch to things. And so lore is the thing that we would talk about for hours on end.
Right. Yeah, and it's cool because like doing a space campaign like this, it's like there's literally enough room for everyone.
Right.
Like sure, create a planet, make a thing. It's awesome, and yeah, then especially with it being collaborative like that, it's like I see something that the writer's done and it's like, oh sweet, I can pull that into the story and add my own little flavor to it, and
yeah,
you get to show off.
I don't write. I'm the idea guy. I just come up with stuff off the cuff. I can't write anymore.
Hey, idea guys are important too, bro. Like,
yeah. Oh, trust me. These guys bounce ideas off me constantly.
Yeah.
So, but I got a question. I'm going to drag it back to episode 1 just for a second, just because I really want to ask about Mrs. Mapo. I love her.
Yeah,
I want to know more about Mrs. Mapo. Mrs. Mapo was amazing.
Man. And are we saying that correctly? Because we couldn't quite.
No, yeah, it's Miss Mapo. Yeah, that's absolutely correct. So it was actually kind of funny. When my player, when we were going through character creation and the players were making other characters and stuff, I asked each one of them to create 3 NPCs for me, or for their characters, right? And like and create the history between them and their characters and everything like that. Because it's one thing for me to do it and then be like, hey, your character knows this person, but if Mapo literally came out of Rena's mind, right? Like she
That is
created Miss
awesome.
Mapo,
That
and
is.
and the relationship that Mapo and Constant have. So yeah, the old elderly cobalt woman was Rada's idea. I think I designed the outfit, right? Like the thick glasses and the shoes with the claws coming out and everything. Because I just saw her. I was like, okay, cool. So even that in itself was like a collaborative process. And then I don't I don't typically do voices, but for some reason Maple was so like just the descriptions and stuff. I saw her so clearly in my head. I was like, I feel like I could do this one. Just leaned in and went with it. And yeah, it ended up being great. Like Rada bounced back and forth perfectly. It was awesome. I
Yeah,
wanna I want to play her. I want to find a way to bring her back. I'm being honest.
Oh, I could see her popping up in different places,
Yeah.
like in a shop.
Oh,
Saying
yeah,
she
for
just popped
sure.
in
Yeah.
for something, and
Yeah.
nobody knows how she gets there.
Right.
Because
Because like
you got
I
to give her
didn't
that
know.
background.
Yeah, I
She
didn't know
always
that
knows.
I didn't know that I was gonna like Miss Maple that much. Like I'm like, okay, because obviously Constance leaving, right?
Right.
Like so she's got to go off on her adventures. She said goodbye to all of these people and stuff, and I was like, damn, I need to find a way to see her back into the story because that was a lot of fun,
Yeah, I mean, just to throw out an idea, you could do, hey, don't copyright us, but for Jack Sparrow, how did he get off the island? Oh, by the hair on my back and sea turtles, mate. Like that's just you could do something similar to that.
Like, yeah, I'm just here.
Yeah.
Don't even worry about
What do you
it.
mean? This is my shop. It's been here for like 10 years.
Yeah. I'm on vacation, honey. Relax.
Oh my god.
Oh, I love her. She's so great.
Yeah.
I listened to that section like 3 times just.
Yeah.
Me too. That
Oh my
was
God.
that was
That
great.
was
I
so
was that
great.
voice was so funny. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
That was the first thing Robbie said was, "I love Miss Mapo."
Yeah.
I do. I love Miss Mapo. She always knows. She always knows.
Maple always knows. She
She
always
always knows.
See that's where I would lean into it with Miss Mapo always knows. She's got the ears out there. That doesn't mean she can't go there herself.
Right. Yeah.
And you just never know how she gets there. And
Yeah.
she's not going to tell you. So
Little do we
Maple
know.
just shows up. Yeah.
Little
That's
do we
like
know,
Miss
like
Maple.
Brandon knows, but little do we know. I mean, Miss Mapo could be like the big bad, or even like just a high sorceress or something, and just
Yeah.
she's got these teleport things. So it's like, all right, we're
No.
here.
Yeah, she's a secret
Don't-
bounty hunter.
Right,
She's the head.
don't
break
She
my
just
heart.
runs everything, runs the whole galaxy.
Don't break
The
my heart
underground-
like that.
The underground is when Miss Maple shows up somewhere else, and it's like, oh, I am the underground, honey.
Right,
Just
yeah.
like, oh
Honey.
god.
Like, Miss
Funny.
Maple, you're a
Like the
danger. I
old
am the
D&D.
danger.
remember like the old D&D cartoon with the dungeon master just pops up every once in a while.
Right.
Yeah.
So speaking of NPCs, I'm gonna do a call back to what our podcast usually does with interviewers. Is we want to make an NPC on the fly right here for
Okay.
this spot. So I'm gonna throw it to Thorn for the species or the race to come up with, and then I'm gonna give
Okay.
it to Brandon Hatcher to make the name.
The name. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm going to give you a good one here, and it's going to be pretty simple, and just a halfling, and I'm hoping you'll take it the way I want you to take it.
Okay. A halfling.
A halfling.
And I just gotta come up with a name.
Yep.
Well, if it's a halfling, Frodo, right? Like,
Yeah.
Okay.
You can go that way. Okay.
Thorn, were you
So-
thinking of wanting it to be a dying heart?
Yes, I was.
oh my gosh.
There's so many of them.
There are
You didn't
some
give him the
Absolutely
right.
right. I
You
didn't
didn't give him the right look.
all the way.
You didn't give
all
him the
way
right
over.
look.
Yeah, all the way over. No.
It's in the eyebrows.
Yeah,
It
you
is.
gotta.
It's in the eyebrow.
Gotta give him the.
the
you gotta give
we
him
may
that
need to
look.
kill somebody.
Okay,
look.
hang on. Okay. Can we? Okay. Erase what I said. Can we make a dying heart? I would love to do that.
Yeah,
Sure, let's do it.
Yes.
Okay, so I need a name. Jethro.
Jethro.
Jethro Dying Heart.
Oh yeah. Okay,
Jethro
so
Dying Heart.
Jethro Dineheart is a prospector of Stardust.
Ooh.
Ooh, okay.
He's a Stardust prospector. So he goes to planets that aren't inhabited, way off the beaten path, looking for Stardust. And I mean, you said it. His name's Jethro. He's got coveralls.
Yep.
Barefooted.
That's exactly where I was going with it.
Wears just like one of those big hats.
Right.
And
I saw him with the hat too.
And
has
randomly
just
has
the
a straw.
Little thing.
The
Yeah.
straw, yeah. Chewing on a piece of straw, spitting the straw.
He's super superstitious. Like he's like when you're digging, you got to make sure you count to 3 and avoid this because you never know.
Superstitious.
Stardust is superstitious.
Yeah. No, I like that. Like, yeah, he has like all sorts of weird little trinkets and stuff. Like he just makes weird noises. Like he walked inside, he like flips a coin and then like picks up some dust and throws it over his shoulder.
There you go.
Just like as he's walking. Yeah.
I like the idea of the extra trinkets and picking them up. And so I think, like, you know, if you were to describe him to the party, you know, he's coming in sounding like he's wearing spurs. Like there's just a bunch of clinking and clanking and just this cantankerous character. And he comes in with, if you were going to do a voice, like the most like hillbilly kind of voice that you could come up with. just like
he's a good old boy.
Yeah.
Jethro Dynamite.
There you go.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
I'll throw it to Brian really quick. So Jethro is prospecting on I don't know, planet X7 or something, because it's uncharted. So we've just got this you know, this planet that we haven't named yet. So Brian, what would something the party have to do when they meet Jethro? I mean, because sure, there's the Dying Heart connection, so we're already going to talk with Brendan, and they're going to have their family get together. But Jethro has an issue. What's going to be their quest?
His next prospect planet.
Oh, he's done with this one.
Yep.
He's just on the way.
So I feel like when they meet him, he's already kind of heading out and trying to think of where to go next.
Okay. So that could be a tie-in to either where the party's been, or looking at their map and saying, "Hey, there's another uncharted planet. Why don't we just take you there? We'll be your taxi for the day."
Let me put it out there. Maybe because they all have a way to get in touch with each other in some certain way.
Yeah.
He sends it out that something's going on this planet.
Yeah.
He needs to get out of here.
I like it.
He's superstitious, right? He's it's the mines that he wants to go to are haunted.
Yes. That's beautiful. Yes.
He's like, but they're like, how do you know that they're haunted?
But are they though? Yeah.
But
listen, I was prospecting, and there was the whistling, and there ain't no holes in there. It was just whistling.
It was just whistling. And you know what they say about the whistling now.
and he looks at them and he opens up his pouch.
What did they say? Oh.
Yeah. He's got like dust in there, and he's just like, and look.
Yeah. It just falls to the ground. There's no wind whatsoever.
And they're like, it looks like a displacer beast.
Did you see? It moves.
It's like that guy from the movie Devil.
Yeah.
With the peanut butter and jelly, and he's like, look, and he flips it over and lets jelly side down. He's like, the devil's here.
Yeah, clearly. Yeah. Oh, that'd be funny. Just like completely unreliable guy. Be like, there's ghosts in there and specters and spirits and all sorts of stuff. Like,
he gets inside the ship and starts changing things.
Yeah.
Just like putting up like.
Oh, that would be an amazing RP for Brendan. Just trying to stop Jethro
from touching everything.
Like, these settings are all off. Like, no, they're not. No. The number 3, you have to do the number 3. Just all the settings are free across the board.
Everything has to be number 3. 42 is the key to everything. It's like this is where we need to go next. Like, why? Like Brendan, I had a dream last night. You know, we need to do this.
Let me tell you, there were 3 pebbles in my dream. So we gotta go.
That means something.
Oh, that would confuse the whole party so much.
Yeah.
It would
Yeah.
just confuse
Because they would take
the
it at
crap
face
out of
value, be
them.
like, okay, yeah, that means
Yeah.
something. We gotta go.
Yeah.
And just
Right.
nothing ever happens. I
Cause
could
it's
see
like,
it
I
like,
constant.
I think we should
Together.
listen to him. He has his head on straight.
Oh, yeah.
right?
Except constant. Constant's like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Every time he's like,
I don't know. Starts getting scientific. Jethro has like all of the scientific reasons for everything, but it
Yeah.
has no basis in actual
No basis in
science.
Got Lyrex wearing the foil hat, sitting in the
Oh,
corner.
yeah. Wearing the tinfoil hat. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. He actually has tinfoil in his inventory because you never know
Yeah.
when you might need tinfoil.
You never know.
You never know.
That's actually really
Yeah, his-
smart.
His
That's
inventory is gonna be huge. Like he's got one of everything because you never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
That's an
And
amazing NPC. I love
he
that.
he reminds me of my grandfather. Like, no shit, my grandfather would pick up random screws. You never know if you need this screw, and put
You
it
never
in a Gatorade container. He didn't have
Right.
actual boxes for screws. It was just a Gatorade container with no label on it, and it was just, you're like, there's 30
Filled with
different
screws.
kind of screws. It's like,
Yeah.
And it's still in your
and
garage, in your.
it is in my
shed?
carport, yeah. And
Yeah.
so like you look into these screws and you're like, well, that's concrete, cool. Okay, well, that's wood. That's a
Yeah.
finishing nail. Why is the finishing nail in the screws? Don't ask questions. It's there. You might need it.
Yeah. Might need it.
Just-
Right.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
that was great. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Hey,
That was a good
Thank-
one.
all right, y'all look out for Jethro Dying Heart coming
Hell
soon.
yeah.
Stardust Dragon.
Oh, if you put them in, I will. That's gonna be just love.
Gold.
Love that.
Yeah.
I will scream in the middle of watching the episode. I'll be like,
What do you mean if when he is showing up?
There you go.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know if you guys picked up on this, but there's a Dying Heart on every planet just about.
I figured as much. I really
Yeah.
did
Yeah.
because you put it Lucky there right away. I was like, I wonder if there's gonna be one everywhere.
Well,
Yeah.
especially like when Lucky was like, yeah, so this person died, and this person, and this person, and this person,
Right, right.
and this person. He was like, how many are gone?
The Dying Hearts are a huge family. So yeah,
Oh, I love that.
every stop they go on, they're gonna run into another
That's
Dying Heart.
amazing.
Yeah.
And how much? See, I think that the whole part about them dying is gonna be a nice little side quest, and I want to know that.
What happened? Yeah.
Yes.
I gotta stay tight-lipped about that one. But
Yep.
yeah, that one's. I will say, that one's
It's
intense.
coming.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Now my interest is peaked.
Yeah, I was like,
That
oh,
particular
I wanna know.
storyline. Yeah, that particular storyline is like, oof, it was it get a little dark. It's intense.
That's awesome. I,
That is
And-
great.
we say that's awesome, even though it was like, oh, that's dark. Like we all
Yeah,
four of
sweet.
us are the dark DMs. That's
That
what
is.
happens. If we're not
Yeah.
That's what
killing
we do.
players, we're torturing them. That's what's gonna happen.
See, yeah, and I'm on the far end. Like I literally, when the first episode happened and you killed people, I was like, "Yep, I like it already."
Yeah, done deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was hooked. I was like, death. Yes,
Yeah.
excellent.
Oh, people dying? That type of show.
Yeah.
Check that
I
out.
was like, we just started. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, when
Yeah,
you when
I
you
love
roll a 5 on a disadvantage, you got to look out. You know, it may not always just be that you didn't make tips. It might be something else.
Right. Yeah.
No,
I have to admit, I love the way it's formatted too. This is just an aside that with the less rolls,
yes.
Mhm.
it really helps the story flow a lot better, and I think it's gonna be more attractive to people that don't play the game like we do.
Right.
Where
Oh,
we're
yeah.
always looking for rolls.
Yeah, that was an interesting choice made by Christian and the editors. We listened back to the first episode a couple of times, to kind of figure out what our style was going to be and stuff. And and so we thought we had it, honestly. Like we thought we had it solid, but then like Christian came back and he was like, "Hey, so listen to this now," and yeah, because we're story first. That's how
Yeah.
I DM. That's how the podcast is. It's all story first, and yeah, taking some of the roles out and streamlining it a little bit definitely helps with the audio narrative portion of it.
Yeah.
But what's cool though is like if you are more into the D&D stuff, I think on our Patreon we have like the full, like it feels more like us playing, you know,
Yeah.
because like, you know, we go through the roles and the mechanics and all that other stuff. So if that's more your speed, you know, Patreon, $5, Speakeasy Productions, yay.
Hey, shameless plugs all over.
Yeah.
You wanna know?
So
Plugs.
yeah, just so that we're plugging again, the link will be in our show notes, and that's Patreon/Speakeasy Productions for a $5 a month is what, one coffee at Starbucks? Not even anymore. It's like $8 for
Yeah, that's
and
cheaper.
you
That's
should
cheaper than
quit
a
your
Chick-fil-A
Starbucks.
sandwich.
Yeah,
Exactly. You should quit your Starbucks addiction anyway. So
Right.
spend $5 a month.
You've had enough caffeine.
You've had enough caffeine.
whoa. Okay, Brian, you're speaking sacrilege now. Caffeine is life. No, I do have to applaud you guys before we tie it to the end, but I have to applaud you guys for the fact that the cast doesn't know what's going on. They are not allowed to look at the writer's notes, because like, you know, it's hard, especially, you know, like Thorne said earlier, is I bounce ideas off of him all the time, and we're in a campaign where I DM or story weave as we call it, and Thorne is a player. So I'm like, hey, what happens if we do this? And, you know, I've got all these ideas, but now he has to play without the metagaming portion of it. And you guys you just took that out. Like there's no way for them to force the story to what you have, because they don't know. They have no idea. It could be anything, or completely opposite of what they think might happen.
Pretty much. And I think that all goes back to like, you know, trusting your players again, like, and trusting your DM. Like, again, super grateful just to be able to play with these guys. They're all fantastic. And you know, I asked them what they wanted, you know, like out of their characters and stuff. And they told me like the type of stories they wanted to tell, you know, which I think is why each character has such a distinct like style. And like even again applauding the editors, like in episode 1, where like, you know, first you're introduced to Lyrax, and then Constance and the two short men, like each one of them has like a specific theme, a musical cue that plays when they do, and like a whole like kind of vibe that goes with it. And so what I'm excited for you guys to see, the audience, is when the party comes together, the editors have done a fantastic job of like kind of merging the vibes as well, you know. So like, you know, when it's a Lyrax thing, you'll know it's a Lyrax thing. If it's a constant thing, you'll know it's a constant thing, you know. Like, but yeah, it was important that we got like genuine reactions out of people for stuff. And it was important that, like, you know, the characters or the players made decisions that were true to the character and pure to the character, and not like, well, this is what I want to happen. So it's like, what would Constant do in this situation? You know, what would Lyrax do in this situation? What would Flip do? You know? So yeah, and they have an idea, but like, it's literally like, this is what we talked about, so this is what we have. Like, this is the story I want to tell. Okay, cool. Right. But but the way I'm telling it, they have no clue like what's gonna go on.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing to end the episode on before we get to the final thoughts. But for newer players that are just getting into D&D, how would you suggest them interacting with the DM about the story that they want to tell? And how do we avoid forcing that story? Because no one really likes railroading too much, you know. So how do we fix that?
I think the DM, from a player standpoint, I would say, like, don't just enjoy the ride. And I mean that in the nicest way possible. Like I think people who play D&D and have never DM before don't understand like exactly how much work it is, you know, like to build a game, especially if you're doing it from scratch, like just like a one shot or something. So a lot of the stuff is it's like a roller coaster, right? Or like an open world game, right? Like, stuff's here for you to interact with. Like, go interact with it. Don't worry too much about, like, you know, like, don't worry about what you want to do, and ask the DM what you can do, if that makes sense, you know? Because if you ask me what can you do, I'm going to give you a bunch of stuff to do, and it's all going to be within the parameters of the world that I've created, you know? Sure. Instead of you kind of instead of the player trying to like guess like, oh, well, I want to do this, how can I make that happen? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
I like that, because Thorne is really great at doing this. In fact, he's made half of my lore on the spot, because we'll be playing a game, and, you know, we all know the ancient yes and line, and so as a DM, we're describing the story, and then suddenly I have to write a lore for the divine Aeon, because apparently this freaking mercenary is now a part of that brotherhood of mercenaries, and that was just something that Thorn was like, yeah. So he meets another mercenary, and I'm like, okay, another mercenary, cool. I got to make an NPC. Okay, yeah, and they're part of this brotherhood. Oh shit, there's a brotherhood. Okay, cool.
It's like, all right.
Yep.
Okay.
And you just run with it. That's the fun part.
Yeah. And one other thing I would say,
Yeah.
is just from a DM perspective, like, give your players stuff to do.
Yeah.
Remember that it is collaborative storytelling. Like the players own the game just as much as the DM does, even though the DM does all the work. So like when a player, I try not to tell my players no too often, and if I do tell them no, it's like I'll explain within the parameters of the world why that doesn't work,
Right.
and it's like, so you can't do that, but this is how the mechanics are. You can try to do this instead of just being like, no, you can't do that, especially for new players, because you want to feel epic and awesome and like you can save the day and everything like that. So yeah, as a DM, I would say, like, make sure you find moments where it's like, hey, now it's your turn, shine, do the thing.
Right. And that's what, before I pass it to Thorn for final thoughts real fast, that's why we call it the DM. We call it the story weaver, because you're weaving everyone else's stories together. So it's that collaborative thing, because we're the master of the world, but we're also, here to have fun and play the game at the table. So
right.
you're weaving those stories together. So Thorn, final thoughts. Episode 2 lore.
Super excited about everything going on.
Yeah.
I really am truly enjoying it, and we're listening to it in order. Like, we haven't listened to the 3rd episode yet.
Right.
Oh, great.
So we are doing these in between us actually listening, so people are getting our genuine reaction to these episodes, and I am enjoying it so much. I really am, and it helps because I know Christian, and now I know you, and I just want to see you guys succeed in such a way that it, to me, as an older player, I am enjoying watching what the game that I was almost shamed out of playing as a kid has become, and you guys as creators, and just, it's amazing. I am truly enjoying it, and I can't wait to listen to episode 3. I'm starting it tomorrow.
Yep.
Hey, well, thank you, man. And look, to hear that from an OG player, I really appreciate it. We gonna keep rocking with this thing.
Good.
Robbie?
Pup?
Definitely. So I am really, like Thorn said, I'm really enjoying the story, and I love how creative the world is to listen to, because I listen to it and I try to like piece together like how the world functions. I like to see like all the stuff that's going on and in the background, because I love lore. Like, I could consume that like on a daily basis. All I need for sustenance. And so just hearing about the world and hearing how it's going, and reading the stuff on the Discord, I've just been really, really excited about part 3, and I'm just like, I want to learn more. Tell me more.
More's definitely coming.
And Brian?
It's interesting to me that how like everyone has a favorite thing that they like out of like everything that's being put together, and mine, I have a very separate like from it. And I mentioned it before. I'm kind of like an audiophile. It's like I'm really enjoying all the voice acting, the choice of just sound effects, of the audio. This is going through every episode, first and second. Every little different change in pitch, the fading away, that I loved it so much. Just, it's so pleasing to my ears. And then again, I'm mainly just like the audio kind of person, but the story itself has been drawing me in. I was literally cooking yesterday, and I just had to like gasp and stop mid cooking when well, at the very start, like I said, episode 1, where it's just like death, and I'm like, I like it.
Yeah.
And then the voice came in, and I was just like, nope, yep, I'm gonna be here a minute.
Yeah.
So I love the how everyone is just coming together. It's just beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm blown away by y'all's production. Truthfully, like it's. I mean, I know that you all are talented, and I know a lot of y'all's backgrounds because of Christian, and telling us in the beginning of the partnership and stuff is like, oh yeah, so we've got all of these actors, these voice actors and editors and artists and things, and you're like, yeah, that's amazing, and it's the beginning of a podcast, and I mean, half of the cast, I'm sure that there's some circles that they're really well known, and in fact, I know that some of them are. But like you told me today when I was asking about your bio, you were like, "Oh, I'm a small time streamer." It's like, no, you're now a streamer, bro. Like this is a production because like Brian said, the sounds and the voice acting and all the special effects that are going on, like I couldn't fathom putting half of those things in there. And you're like, oh, and then you told us today that like, oh yeah, every character has their own damn theme song, and you're gonna know and you're gonna hear it. Oh, and then they mix it together when the party's like, it's mind-boggling. And for my final thought is that I am a lore guy as well, and more lore is by far the biggest thing for me, and that's why I kept saying that I applaud you guys for the storyline of this podcast, because yeah, I can listen to 7 hours of Critical Role and hear them like clack the rolls and roll the numbers and things, and they still make a story, but you guys focused so heavily on that story that it comes off almost like an audiobook. Like if I didn't know that this was D&D, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference between this and an audiobook.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Awesome, man.
Primo production. And so we'll end the podcast on those notes. We're obviously, this is after episode 2, so like I said, next week is episode 3, and I can't wait for everything that is going on right now. Stick around for some bonus content at the end, Brandon, but listeners, listen to the end of message. We have the Patreon in our show notes. We have our link tree that's also going to link to Stardust and Dragons and Speakeasy Productions itself. Check out Brandon's Instagram and Twitter, and check out Stardust and Dragons Facebook. Get those socials out there, because if you send us a message either to them directly or even to our social medias, you can ask Brandon a question. We'll bring him back on for another episode. Ask the cast if you guys have a specific question for a cast member. I can message them in Discord and at the very least get the answer for that question, but we'll probably have them on anyway. So
you'll eventually get the whole cast on. I think Max was already like next week. So so maybe
yeah.
Bring it on.
Yeah. And so with that, listeners, remember to check your dungeons, because this dungeon is occupied with Stardust and Dragons.